Welcome back to Unveiling Islam. I'm David Wood here with Brother Rashid. I don't know if you've noticed, Brother Rashid, but there have been a lot of terrorist attacks over the years. Even since 9/11, there have been tens of thousands of Islamic terrorist attacks against non-Muslims or even against rival Muslim groups. And one of the things that I've heard over and over and over again from journalists and from politicians is this really has nothing to do with Islam. Because, as we know, and the two most common verses I've seen over and over again, it's Surah 2, verse 256. There's no compulsion in religion. So anyone who's trying to use compulsion for religion must not be a Muslim or must be some sort of heretic or something like that. And then, of course, we have that according to the Quran, if anyone kills a man, it's as if he's killed all mankind.
Oh, my goodness.
And therefore, any terrorist who's killing other people is completely violating the teachings of Islam. Problem is, when I look up these passages, they don't help. And the other problem is the Quran has a lot more to say about dealing with unbelievers.
First of all, not compulsion in religion. If you read the background, why it was written, it has nothing to do with giving people freedom of religion or anything.
Yeah, and the commentaries, they'll give, like in Qurtubi gives, I think, over a dozen interpretations, and none of them say what they say today.
It just says like some kids of the people in Medina, their dads and moms, they vowed if they had kids, they will be Jews. Mm-hmm. And then when Muhammad went there, they wanted to convert by force their kids, and he said no compulsion in religion. And that wasn't the beginning of his stay in Medina. He changed after. Mm-hmm. That's why we had chapter 9. Mm-hmm. So if you are quoting chapter 2, that's the beginning of Medina. Mm-hmm. Things changed a lot.
And they can't even agree. That's one of the interpretations I've seen. Yes. People just say, well, it was abrogated. And then, of course, some people say it only applies to Jews and Christians if they pay the jizya. They can't even agree on what it means.
Yeah. I want to comment on the other verse you mentioned, which mentions if you kill one soul, you kill all the world. Actually, the context doesn't talk about that. It talks about Jews.
Yeah, it says this was revealed to the Jews.
To the Jews, to sons of Israel.
And that's a quote from the Talmud.
Yeah, so he's basically saying, well, in the scriptures of the Jews, if you kill one man, you kill the whole world. Mm-hmm. So that's not about the Quran.
Yeah. And by the way, the very next verse, so that's Surah 5, verse 32. Yeah. The very next verse, Surah 5, verse 33.
Cut their hands and their feet and crucify them.
Tells Muslims to go on a killing spree.
Yeah. Let's talk about chapter 9, which was the last revelation to Muhammad concerning violence.
So you're talking about like the final marching orders. In other words, if you open up the Quran, you find all sorts of teachings from different contexts, but then you get to Surah 9, and this is, all right, these are your final marching orders.
Yeah.
These can cancel things that happened earlier, revelations from earlier, so this is what you're supposed to be aiming towards now.
The first thing you notice, this chapter has no beginning. There is not the standard beginning, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of the most gracious and the most merciful. It doesn't exist. When you go and ask why, they say because it has no mercy. I shouldn't start with mercy. The merciless chapter in the Quran. Okay, that's a good start.
And just to be clear, every other chapter of the Quran starts with this, except this one.
Because it has no mercy. So the last revelation of Allah is no mercy. That's just... We just started. And then you go and you find each group has their own orders, how to deal with the polytheists, how to deal with Christians and Jews. 9:5, how to deal with polytheists. He gave them 3 months, and he said, after the 3 months, just slaughter them wherever you find them. Jews and Christians, give them the option of paying money, bribing Allah to keep your own religion. So basically, this is jihad. Coming back to what people say when they say, this is a twist of Islam, hijacked Islam. This is not what Islam teaches. I have a few questions for them. What is the common denominator between all these guys? You find people from Morocco joining ISIS, people from Tunisia joining ISIS, from Egypt, from Saudi Arabia, from all these places, from France, from Belgium, from Canada, from the US, from Australia. What is the common denominator between these guys? A simple look. Is it because they are poor, less educated? The only thing I can find, the common between them, is Islam. So it has to do with Islam. A common sense. Anyone who studies terrorism has to come to this conclusion. It has to do with religion. Some people, they say no, because they were persecuted. Islamic groups, they were not allowed to participate in politics because this, because of that. Look at Christians in Egypt. The Copts, they were persecuted. They were not given opportunity to participate in politics. Did you see any Copt blowing himself in a mosque among Muslims? Their churches were burned. Their kids were converted by force to Islam. They don't have rights so many times. None of them, he went exploded himself. So you're telling me religion has nothing to do with that?
Yeah, same thing wherever you go, wherever you have, same thing in Pakistan, right?
Yeah.
You've got a Christian minority that's horribly oppressed, that's treated like second-class citizens. And yet, when I see in the news that a mosque has been blown up in Pakistan or a mosque has been shot up, you usually find it's another Muslim group.
Yeah, it's a Sunni blowing up a Shia mosque.
And you pointed out something important there when you say that they come from all these different countries and they all get the same idea.
Yeah.
That's important because when we point out, hey, look at this violence, we'll hear things like, sometimes they'll mention a group like, Westboro Baptist Church. They go around and protest military funerals and things like that, and they're really mean. It's like, but notice, where do you see people from around the world all saying, we need to go and join this movement? Or people will point out, hey, Catholics and Protestants were fighting in Ireland and there were terrorists there. Where do you see like the entire people from the entire world saying, oh, we have that exact same idea. We all need to go there and join it. You can have a local group that gets some strange ideas that don't line up very well with the rest of Christianity, but they remain local. You don't see the entire world all uniting and going to do that. But in Islam, you have someone stand up, we're the new caliphate or something like that, and people start flooding from around the world because they already had the same idea from somewhere.
Let me tell you this. When they say these guys misunderstood the Quran, what book in the world you misunderstand it and you go kill people? Mm-hmm. Did you ever hear about a book you misunderstand and go kill people? And they
misunderstand it in the exact same way wherever they're from.
It's weird. Mm-hmm. I never read Dostoevsky. Somebody read Dostoevsky and read it wrong and went kill people.
Yeah, like you read Crime and Punishment. He killed a pawnbroker, so I'm going to run out and start killing pawnbrokers.
So if there is a text that can be this misunderstood by this much of people, believe me, the problem is not in the people, it's in that book.
Yeah. So even in other words, even if we granted, for argument's sake, that all these people, all these different groups, the ISIS and the Taliban and Al Qaeda and Al Shabaab and Boko Haram, even if we granted all these groups are misunderstanding it, we'd have to say, why are they all misunderstanding the same book that somehow they're all misunderstanding as commanding them to violently subjugate the entire world?
I needed to read 9:5 in English, whatever version you have, whatever translation you have here.
All right, so this is the
9:5.
This is Surah 9, verse 5. This is the Yusuf Ali translation. But when the forbidden months are past, then fight and slay the pagans wherever you find them, and seize them, beleaguer them, and lie in wait for them in every stratagem of war. And then it says, but if they repent and establish regular prayers and practice regular charity, so if they convert, then open the way for them, for Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. So the exception, if they repent, if they convert to Islam, but other than that, the orders are fight and slay the pagans wherever you find them.
How do you misunderstand slay them wherever you find them?
Yeah, that's kind of a hard one to misinterpret.
I mean, was it something else and I got it wrong? Slay them is slay them. Mm-hmm. If you told me, if you are going to tell me that was just for the time of Muhammad, that wasn't. Mm-hmm. Actually, the Quran is good for all time.
And there's nothing that comes after this. If this had been early on, you could come up with something later that abrogates the earlier one. These are the final orders.
How Muhammad understood the text, how the companions understood the text, how the first Islamic Ummah understood the text. That's what defines what the text is. All of them.
It's not defined by a journalist for CNN today?
Muhammad practiced these verses on the ground. He killed people, he went to them, he slayed them, he did all these things. So if somebody misunderstood the Quran, it must be Muhammad, because he did that.
Yeah, so Muhammad himself misunderstood the Quran because he thought it called for the violent subjugation of the world. And so you mentioned 9:5, and then of course we have Surah 9 verse 29, because that's 9:5 is about the polytheists. And then 9:29, that's about Jews and Christians, and we have fight those who believe not in Allah nor the last day, nor hold that forbidden which hath been forbidden by Allah and his messenger, nor acknowledge the religion of truth from among the people of the book until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. So this is talking about Jews and Christians and saying we have to be violently subjugated.
People who say it was for defense, who went to North Africa? They wanted to defend themselves in Saudi Arabia and went all the way to Spain and North Africa? Wow, I mean, who went to the other? Is that defense? And plus, the verses do not talk about defending yourself until they repent. So it's a religious thing. It's not about defending yourself. Muhammad did 83 war operation. 83. One of them, you can call it defense, which the trench, because they came, but also that you can explain it as a reaction to his raids. So at the end, the 83, none of them is people attacking him. It's the other way around. How is that defense?
And even in Surah 9, verse 29, notice it's not fight people who are attacking you.
No.
It's fight those who do not believe
in the true religion.
And then you can go to the surrounding context. It starts in the verse before it. So Surah 9, verse 28, it goes all the way to verse 33.
Yeah.
And every single criticism that justifies violently subjugating Jews and Christians is our religious beliefs and practices. There's not one word in there about Muslims being attacked and them fighting in self-defense in this passage. And so notice there are only two possibilities here. There are only two possibilities here. Either the Quran means what it says when it calls for a violent subjugation. Either it means what it says. Allah really means that Muslims have to slaughter polytheists and groups that are polytheists, and of course, Jews and Christians have to be subjugated. Either Allah means that, or Allah meant something completely different, but he said it in such a way that everyone who's reading the passage from around the world thinks he's calling for the violent subjugation of the world, because it's exactly what he said.
Including his prophet.
Including his prophet. Even his prophet misunderstood it. Why? Because he says fight those who do not believe, when he really means fight in self-defense. So either Allah means what he says, which leads to a bloodbath, or he meant something else, but he said it so horribly that people conclude it calls for a violent bloodbath. Either way, you get a violent bloodbath. And so I think we need to stop by pretending that jihad has nothing to do with this religion.